Well. The 50th episode of Ask Dr. Love. It's an amazing show for you today. Ask Dr. Love is the podcast where you get to ask the question about acupuncture, Asian medicine, herbal medicine, natural medicine, holistic medicine, and your health. If love is the answer, what is your question? Today's episode, you're going to want to write down your questions right now. You got to get those questions ready because I'm going to run through this. Put your question in the comment. If you're anywhere but IG, Facebook, or YouTube, go to your cell phone and text 81010 at Ask Dr. Love. And you'll get a return window and you can ask your question. You can do that anytime. You don't have to wait until I'm actually on the air. But we're on iTunes, iHeartRadio, Radio Play. You name whatever podcast, we're there. So, are you ready? Well, first, I have to do a disclaimer. There are tens of thousands of hardworking doctors, nurses, and hospital workers who are dedicated to you. Today's topic is the greatest con job is healthcare. And this is no disrespect to any of the people who work in this industry or any of the dedicated doctors and surgeons who are trying to save your life. No disrespect to them. But healthcare is definitely a con job. So let me break this down. The system that I'm talking about manages sickness. It does not deliver health or any aspect of care for health. The Latin word doctor means teacher. If you were taught, you would know that you have 2 lungs, 2 kidneys, a heart, a liver, and a spleen. And you would know where they are, and you'd be able to give a 1-sentence description of the function of your heart, your lungs, your kidneys, your liver, and your spleen. You'd be able to do that, but you can't. And at many dinner parties over the last 27 years, I've spoken to doctors and nurses and asked them questions. And outside of the narrow area of their expertise, they don't remember any other aspect of their medical school training. So, the purpose of health care is to deliver you from getting sick. But 30% of the population of America is already seeing doctors. Only 5% are healthy. That means there's 65% of the population that is in the sub-health category. They're not sick enough to see doctors, but they're definitely not in the health category. Now, did you know that 80% of the income of the medical industry is from testing? And you know they make $1 bazillion in pharmaceutical drugs. They make $500 million in surgeries. But 80% of their money comes from testing. And that is the biggest con of all. Well, we know you don't have this, but we got to test you. We just want to rule these other things out, and then we'll be able to figure out what's really going on. I had a friend of mine who has sickle cell anemia. He graduated from college. The day after his graduation, he had an episode. He walks into the emergency room at 2 o'clock in the afternoon and says, I have sickle cell. I'm having an episode. I need help. They discharged him at 10 a.m. the next day, and they gave him a bill for $85,000. He wasn't even in the hospital 24 hours. And so he comes to me crying with this 20-page hospital bill. And I went through the bill, and I'm like, these are for tests. Didn't you tell them that you had sickle cell? Yes, I did. But they wanted to test me for all these other things just to rule it out. And he was only 24 years old. He cried. I was able to get his bill knocked down from $85,000 to $1,800. But that is the con of our medical system. The second biggest con is hypertension. Now, when you go to the hospital or the doctor's office and you go to get your blood pressure tested, they put a cuff on your elbow. It is supposed to be the left elbow because that's where your heart is. You're supposed to be laying flat on the back. Now, I don't know everybody's experience in the whole world, but the random people that I've asked all say they were seated. Sometimes they did it on the right. And the textbook says 3 times in 24 hours and then take the average. Now, how many times have you had white coat syndrome? That means when you go to the doctor's office and they test your blood pressure shoots up. The fact that they call it white coat syndrome means that they know that that happens. And yet, you will get a prescription for a drug for hypertension that you have to take every day for the rest of your life from one test that was done improperly. Now, we at the Be Well clinics, we take your blood pressure of your wrist, not your elbow, because the wrist blood vessels are narrower than the ones in your elbow. And in a study they did in Israel, they found out that testing the blood pressure of the wrist can determine high blood pressure 5 years ahead of time. So you could be 120/80 in your elbow and 150/100 in your wrist. And I've done that countless times. So why don't they test the wrist? You'll have to ask your doctor or your hospital. The state of Texas, the Texas Cardiology Association, they do wrist and ankles. Are you more likely to get a blood clot in your leg or in your arm? You already know that the answer is your leg. So why don't they test your ankle? There's only 5 states that recommend testing blood pressure of the ankle. 5 out of 50. That is a con. Is it laziness? I don't know. That's something you're going to have to take up with your doctor, unless you can get to somebody who's going to test your wrist and your ankles. Is hypertension a disease? It is absolutely not a disease. It is a sub-health condition. If you ignore hypertension for 10 years, you will definitely have kidney failure or liver failure or some complication of kidney disease. But hypertension is not a disease. You can correct it without drugs. If you want to find out how to do that, comment below. The next con is diabetes. Diabetes is a measurement of the blood sugar when you wake up in the morning. If your blood sugar is consistently over 120, then you have a problem, and they are calling it diabetes. That is not a disease. It's a condition, if ignored, that will lead to kidney or liver disease, or even heart disease. But diabetes is not a disease. Diabetes can be controlled with diet and exercise. But your lazy bones wants to eat whatever jars of candy, bags of candy, chips, crackers, all type of starchy foods, that's what causes what's going on with your diabetes. Now, you can take your own blood sugar. You can buy blood sugar test kits, and that is also a con job. They make $1 bazillion off of selling equipment for measuring blood sugar and test strips. That is not cool. The next one is called osteopenia. Osteopenia is bone thinning, and the way that you can determine that is through an ultrasound of your heel. Now, you have bone marrow. When the bone marrow starts to disintegrate, you get rubbery bones. That's osteopenia. If the bones are brittle and they break, that's osteoporosis. So the rubbery bones, the osteopenia, can be corrected by doing this every day for 8 minutes. And if you join loveqigong.com, this morning I went into great detail about body drumming to prevent osteoporosis. So this is not a disease. You need to understand that you can control your bone marrow just by what you do, by your actions. Your health is in your hands. Now, the complement to that is sarcopenia. That's muscle wasting. So as you age, you lose muscle mass. Again, that's not a disease. You lose muscle mass because you don't exercise on a regular basis. Don't get old. Don't get sick. Don't get fat. Don't die quick. So your health is in your hands. What you need to do is you need to take control of your health, your life, and your strength. Some of you are thinking that I'm blaming doctors and hospitals and big pharma. I am not. I am not into the blame and shame game. I'm into you taking responsibility and stop abdicating your responsibility to doctors. You are in control of what goes in your mouth. I don't put hot dogs and French fries in your mouth. I don't put cheeseburgers and milkshakes in your mouth. You do that. And you already know that you eat too much meat. You already know that you eat too many fried foods. You already know you drink too much alcohol, too much caffeine, and too many sugary beverages. You already know that. So you cannot blame doctors. You should be ashamed of yourself for buying health insurance and then expecting the government to pay your tab when you get cancer and heart attacks. That's your fault. You need to take responsibility, and your family is going to suffer because of your lack of curiosity about how your body works. You think I'm mad at the medical system? I'm annoyed with you who don't want to take responsibility for yourself. Your health is your problem, not the government's problem. You complain about insurance companies cheating you. You deserve to get cheated. Don't even buy health insurance. Find out how to stay healthy, how to get healthy, and I can help you with that. Health literacy is the thing that you should be concerned about. You need to understand 2 lungs, 2 kidneys, heart, liver, and spleen. You need to know where they are and what you can do in 8 minutes a day to promote your own health. You can have a morning and a bedtime routine that it can make your bones strong, your fascia, your immune system, your hormone system. Everybody over 40's hormones are whacked out. You don't even know how many hormones you have. You don't even know what organs secrete hormones. You don't even know how hormones are delivered. And I can teach you that. And I have these courses. And it is so easy to take care of yourself when you know how. So it's all up to you. It's not the government. It's not insurance companies. And even though I said it's the greatest con job, it's still your responsibility to think for yourself and not blame others. Katniss, has anybody asked a question so far?
Well, Rachel made a comment about the devices that are supposed to be helping with measuring blood pressure, how sometimes those machines are not accurate.
That's all part of the con job. That's all part of the con job. Again, I don't want to blame the people who work in the medical industry. I'm blaming the system, not the people. So it's totally up to you to find out how your body works. I have courses on health literacy, on the digestive system, on the reproductive system, on the circulatory system, on the respiratory system, on the nervous system, on the endocrine system, and the musculoskeletal system. I study this, and I can teach you from both a Western and a Chinese medicine perspective, and how Western has actually verified everything that we teach in Chinese medicine. All of the practices of Chinese medicine have now been verified. The acupuncture meridians, the acupuncture points, the triple heater, the pericardium, everything that's germane to Chinese medicine has been verified by Western medicine. The National Institutes of Health has all this information that backs up everything I say. I didn't pull any of this information out of the air. I have resources for everything that I'm telling you right now. And I would love to hear from you. I'd love to hear from the people who've been abused by the system 1, 2, 3, 4 times. I'd love to hear from the people who stopped taking drugs, got off their medication because they knew that the way they felt from taking the drugs was not helpful. I'd like to hear from the people who stopped taking headache medication, pain medication. There's a whole industry for pain, and in actuality, 50% of your pain is mental and emotional pain. And in just 3 sessions with me, I can take 50% of your pain away without herbs, without drugs. Okay, we've got a question.
Since you say that most of our poor choices are emotional, do you provide coaching and counseling for people who are looking to reparent themselves and make better choices daily?
Can you say that again louder? Because I don't know if the mic can pick it up. Since I said that all of your choices are based upon emotional states.
Do you provide counseling and coaching?
Do I provide counseling and coaching?
Around reparenting yourself.
Around reparenting.
And
wow.
making powerful choices daily.
And making powerful choices daily. I'm so glad you spelled that out in a very step-by-step basis. And that's exactly how you got to me, isn't it, Katniss?
Yes.
Through the reparenting process.
And so I have compassion for others around the same process that they're looking for.
So Katniss has compassion for the people who have issues around the same problems of addiction to caffeine, nicotine, ganja, CBD, carbohydrates, sugar addiction, wine addiction, you name it, gambling addiction. Overeating. We're human beings and we're addictive by nature, and the medical system understands that, so they try to hook you on certain things. Your liver doesn't know the difference between poison and drugs. The liver only knows the difference between food and poison. So if it's not food, then it's definitely poison. And your liver works extra hard to process out the pharmaceutical drugs that you take. In fact, your doctors say, take the drugs with the food so it can be absorbed. And in herbal medicine, we say take the herbs by themselves so it can be absorbed. So the issue for you is you have to know the difference between food and poison. And most of what we eat here in America is food-like and not actual food.
Processed.
So Pringles is not potato chips. They're processed potatoes. A lot of the meat that you eat in restaurants is not a complete cut of meat. It's different parts of meat glued together. And I don't want to go off on the meat industry. You already know you shouldn't be eating it, so I'm not even going to go there. But just to quickly recap, healthcare is a con job. They're not delivering health, they're managing sickness. Number two, testing. 80% of their money comes from testing. Don't let them test you. If you know before you go what's wrong with you, then you say, I want to be tested for this. They're going to make their money anyway. Hypertension is something that you should be in control of. Diabetes is something that you should be in control of. Osteopenia, osteoporosis is something that you should be in control of. And your muscle strength is something that you should be in control of. The ancient Egyptians said, life, health, and strength. Ankh Uchat Seneb. And every morning when they woke up and they looked at the sun, they gave a prayer to the sun. God grant me life, health, and strength. And I'm here to tell you that that is in your hands. So, are there any questions? So while you're looking for questions, I can tell you the way to get started is to go to loveqigong.com. You can go 40 days without food, 14 days without water, but you can only go 4 minutes without air. And the first aspect of Qigong is breathing. The second aspect is meditation, which calms and relaxes the nervous system. The third aspect is internal exercise, which is specifically the diaphragm and the pubococcygeal muscles. The fourth aspect is self-massage. The fifth aspect is external physical exercise. The sixth aspect is food. And there's qi in the food, so you have to choose living foods, not dead foods. And the seventh aspect of Qigong is forgotten foods that we call herbal medicines. There's herbs that are specific for the heart, the lung, the liver, the spleen, and the kidneys. When you hit the age of 45 or 50, there's particular herbal teas that you should be drinking. Because as we age, as we degenerate, as our DNA falls apart, you can prolong that process another 50 years just by drinking the teas, breathing, meditation, internal exercise, self-massage, external exercise, foods, and the proper herbs. Okay, we have a question.
Michael Reed is asking, what are your recommendations for people in small town America who do not have access to non-Western health providers?
Well, telehealth is the best way to go. If you're in small town America, telehealth, call me on the phone, contact me at 81010, text me at 81010, and the text message is Ask Dr.Love. And you'll get a reply window, and then you can put your question, how to contact me. Or if you're on Facebook, you can go to Dr. George Love, Oriental Medicine, and book an appointment for telemedicine right from there.
What oil do you recommend for oil pulling, and often should you oil pulling be done?
Okay, what is the best oil for oil pulling, and how often should oil pulling be done? The best oil is coconut oil, because coconut oil is actually a food. Technically, you can use any oil, olive oil, sesame oil, it doesn't really matter. But the best one is going to be coconut oil. Through trial and error, I discovered putting spirulina powder in the coconut oil. Now, 10 minutes minimum, 20 minutes maximum, and you flush the oil through your teeth and your gums. And the spirulina actually heals the gums, and the oil pulls out the bacteria, virus, fungus, and parasites. And you should do that every day for 21 days. Wait 3 months and then do it again. So you should do that 4 times a year. You should do oil pulling for 3 weeks.
Great question. So, Dr. Love, there is such a thing as aging gracefully.
Yes.
It's not a myth.
Yes, that would be me. I'm 100 years old this year. Not really, but for the last 5 years, people have been saying, "You're 100, aren't you?" So I'm just going to go with it. Yeah, I'm 100 years old.
People have also been saying, you look younger and younger as the years go. What are you doing? They do ask.
The last 3 years, I look younger now than I did 3 years ago, which is very amazing. So I'm the poster child for whatever it is that I'm teaching, which is the reverse aging. And if you want to learn what I know, you can take the course Reverse Aging Specialist. It's a 1-year training course to teach you what I know about looking younger, looking healthier, and looking stronger and being stronger.
Yeah.
Can I use tea tree oil instead? So you can use any oil.
Tea tree oil is a very, very highly concentrated oil. So what I suggest you do is put 5 drops of tea tree oil in 8 ounces of water and swirl it around in your mouth and tell me how you feel. Now, again, that is 5 drops in 8 ounces of water. Now, tea tree oil is a fungicide. It's specifically for fungus. It's not going to be as effective as the coconut oil. So try the tea tree oil. Let me know how it works for you. But I still think the coconut oil is going to be better.
Somebody said a different oil is better.
Which one?
Grapefruit.
Grape seed?
Grape seed.
Grape seed oil. I have no doubt that grapeseed oil is effective, but is definitely not the best. So what I suggest you do is purchase the grapeseed oil, do it for 2 days, and then do it with the coconut oil, and let your body tell you which one is the best one for you. So, as the Buddha said, do not take my words as gospel, but test them for yourself. If what I say doesn't work for you, then you should drop it and not do it just because Dr. Love said so. Make your life a series of 2-week experiments. Test everything, because everybody's different. Everybody's chemical makeup is slightly different. Some people are more acid, some people are more alkaline. Some people are more sensitive, some people are less sensitive. So make your life a series of 2-week experiments and let us know. Comment back in what works, what doesn't work. Thank you so much. Prevention is the only cure. Your health is in your hands. And if you want to be well, you've got to Qigong well. Thank you. I'm Dr. George Love for the Blue Dragon Qigong Academy.